Good evening. This is the 60th day, the 60th day. Yesterday it was 59. Today is the 60th days since we began this prayer for Africa revolution, that Africa must unite. I want to thank God because what is happening today, what has happened today, where the jailing of Kasonde, a direct fight with God, see appointment. All leaders that have proven to fight God in one way or another, using the law, because the case of a law of assembly is a political in nature, and it has political motives, because no one was killed apart from a politician gathering to solicit support to remove a government that is not in favor of what he believes in. Then that becomes a crime and a criminal offense. To me, it's not a crime. It's just the Roman laws that are implemented on us. The very democracy that we defend, we don't know what is it, because it has rules that are undemocratic. It is the reason why I'm putting on sackcloth. I want to give you a very critical example from scripture that proves beyond reasonable doubt that this arrest is politically motivated. Genesis chapter 37 is the basis of my prophetical writings in the book, The Rescue Operation, Volume 1. I talked about this narrative that I'm giving in this book. And if you can look at the time that I wrote, I was still young. Just look at the picture at the end, at the back here. I was still very young. But I've learned to believe that God speaks in advance. God had a purpose. Why? Today I had a dream. Last night I had a dream where Hakainde Hichilema was to be replaced by none other this one Mulilo, the Attorney General Kabesha. This replacement was done before Hakainde Hichilema's end of term. And this replacement of Kabesha, after we voted in Kabesha, became the president in the place of Hakainde Hichilema. Kabesha's leadership was so cruel, gruesome. It was something that was worse than before. So as I was wondering to say, all this morning I was supposed to have spoken about this dream, but I kept on wondering, what does this mean? And I realized when I read that I was not too well from morning. My body was actually so weak due to flu. It's a second round of flu. I think you have noted that I've been struggling to speak all this time long because of flu. But when I read that Kasonde Mwenda is going to, is actually in the magistrate court, I actually hoped for the best result. But later I get the result that he has been sentenced for 3 months, whether and also his sentence is suspended. He'll be serving outside, well, it's free. But the main thing is being classified as a criminal. It's a criminal offense. So meaning that the only achievement to HH is to stop Kasonde Mwenda from standing, which is a direct fight of God's appointment. I would have loved that if Kasonde Mwenda seeked the anointment from the right source of appointment. The belief that I have is, even when the judges are paid to do wrong, when God would fight, there can be a confusion until right is done. But this does not say God's appointment has been defeated. How can it not be defeated? Here is what happened. Genesis chapter 37. And Jacob dwelled in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generation of Jacob. Let me just jump over here. Let me say verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So I want to say that when you look at the appointment of Kasonde Mwenda, it is something that UPND cannot have peace with. All these opposition leaders that are aligned to challenge him, they are faced with the accusation of being bitter, accusation of hating Hakainde Chilema, and because he's a Tonga. It makes me wonder, such kind of reasoning. I thought Tonga people, they are people who are knowledgeable enough, but they try to sell very cheap politics. Politics of saying someone who is criticizing the wrongdoing of Hakainde Chilema is bitter. Politics that makes them think so low that people who voted for Hakainde Chilema, they didn't know that he was a Tonga. And the people now, when they criticize him, they bring tribal war. That they hate him because he's Tonga. And by saying so, themselves, they think that they are not promoting tribalism. They are actually promoting tribalism in defense of who? Of Hakainde Chilema. And in the fulfillment of the prophets that I've been referring to time after time, that tribal shall not end. So now here, the coat of many colors brought division among the children of Jacob. They hated the younger brother to a point that they could not understand him. Verse 5, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet more. In addition to the coat of many colors, then he comes up with a dream. They hated him more. Why? Because the dream foretold his leadership. So when I appointed Kasonde Mwenda, it foretold his leadership, and they hated him more. And now I want to say that what went on was, after they hated Kasonde more, after they hated Joseph more, the way Kasonde has been hated by the UPND cadres and the president himself and the judges themselves, to a point that they just block his opportunity. And here is those who try to block the opportunity of Joseph. What Joseph saw was his leadership. Even the parents could not understand the visions of Joseph. I would advise you to read this chapter to learn of what he saw. So I'll quickly go to verse. Let me maybe start with verse 30. No, let me not go to verse 30. When the brother left home to seek his brethren, he met a man, verse 15, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them saying, Let's go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. When Hakainde Chilema is calling for unity with the West, calling for unity with America, unity with all the European nations, including what is called European Union, against God's revelation of the United States of Africa. And when they see Kasonde talking about ownership of natural resources, they had to conspire against him. They had to plan to arrest him. Even before the declaration of his appointment, because he was a man destined to rule. So the brethren, when they saw Moses, they saw Joseph, they actually conspired against him to slay him. That is, to kill him. Jesus amplified the law and says, if you hate your brother, it is equal to killing. If you come up with a strategy to stop him, to aspire for leadership, because you hate him, you have killed him. So now, I want to say this. Verse 20, they say, Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him in some pit, and say, some evil beast had devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. So, those who are fighting my declaration, and those who are fighting Kasonde Mwenda, not only Kasonde Mwenda, we have people like KBF. They are also faced similar charges. We have people like JJ Banda. They are in exile. They are faced also with similar charges. We have Chishimba Kambwili is actually in jail based on similar charges. We have Godfrey GBM, who also survived death in prison based on similar charges. We have people, leaders like the Nawakis, those who died because of the same persecutions when they were being excused to attend. They were asked to be excused to attend court procession. They could send the court into her house so that they are certain for sure if she's sick. Such a government that uses the law against its citizens. We find to read that today Lungu has died not as a happy person, not as a happy former president, but one who has died complaining to say, if my death comes, I want to die as a happy man because this government is fighting me, fighting my family. And this is the government, the social media that is funded by free education, American politics of hatred. They praise HH even when he is wrong. They want to make us believe that he is the man of our time and he's using the law to protect the economy, whilst to protect the people, whilst is using the law to destroy Zambia. Using the law to destroy the economy. So what should we do as people, as Christians? I want to tell you to say, when we read this story, we know that they plan to kill him in order to defeat his dreams. But Reuben, when he heard it, he wanted to deliver his brother from being killed. And Joseph, they stripped off his coat with many colors and they took verse 24, and they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread. And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a camp of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, and with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brother, what prophet is it that we slay our brother and cancel his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then they passed by the Midianites and the merchant men, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelite for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. So now you look at what happened. The selling of Joseph was an initiative to remove him from the pit, remove him from the death sentence. And unfortunately, when they threw him in the pit, they sat down to eat the food which he brought. If the brother had no love, you're supposed to put poison in that food. As he was in the pit, they were also supposed to die after eating. But the brother's love of searching for his brethren, looking for them until he found them, until he gave them food, was a genuine love, but they retained hatred over his dreams that foretold his leadership. By doing this, they thought they had buried the dreams of Joseph, but they never buried them. I want to say that when the news got to Jacob, verse 34, Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son for many days. Jacob had to put sackcloth in order to mourn for his son. I'm putting on sackcloth to mourn the political situation in Zambia, the political situation in Africa, the political situation. Our economy has been sold to the West. As Joseph was sold, the rejection of vision and dreams is the selling of our economy. Because what we are going through right now in Africa generally is that democracy is controlling our politics. All what we are reading on our newspaper is hatred towards each other. All what we are reading in our newspaper is promises of good economy under democracy, which does not utilize any positive result. And today I want to speak to you to say, listen, God is not happy with the politics in Africa that denies an indigenous African to own land. When I talk of owning land, it's the natural resources, gold, the copper, emerald, oil that Africa possesses, which the West doesn't have. But how come the West that are in a continent where there is no gold, their money is more stronger than us? How come the West, where we do not need to import anything, but they want to import from here, as we become more poorer, each and every government that changes? Hakainde Hichilema is under hostage. Hakainde Hichilema is not speaking what he promised people. Is actually doing everything against what he campaigned for. His campaign was against cyber law and is using cyber law to arrest people. His campaign was a better, strong kwacha, but today kwacha has lost more value than it was before him becoming president. His campaign was actually, I think I wrote one of these books where he actually said is going to stop the selling of this one here, the selling of fish oil, which we call salad, in sachets. He says if he comes into power, this thing will be something of the past. When I said Bali will fix it, I said, when he said Bali will fix it, I said Bali won't fix it. There's one priest here who I quoted in my writings who said that HH, when he comes, he won't fix the economy, but he was going to fix the people. And that was exactly a direct and clear prophecy. HH is fixing people instead of fixing the economy. People who are busy trying to search a way out of this economical slavery is making them to appear criminals in the eyes of every Zambian. I want to appeal to every Zambian who is of goodwill to say, can you put a sackcloth against Hakainde Chilema. Put on a sackcloth. Demonstrate a sackcloth against him. Close your mouth. Just put on a sackcloth every 17 hours. The more you put on sackcloth, the more God will understand your suffering and is going to fight for you. But if you fail to put on sackcloth, as Jacob did when he heard the bad news of the death of his son, which was a fake death, his son was actually preserved for a purpose by God's grace, but he had to put on sackcloth. That sackcloth that he put, it paved the way for Joseph wherever he was. The people that bought him, they went and sold him to a highest bidder, and he was bought to those that are in the kingdom. Eventually, he went to prison. After prison, he actually raised from being a prisoner to a governor. I want to say that the arrest of Kasonde, the arrest of everyone, KBF, the arrest of Chishimba Gambili, and their sentencing, they must preserve them for a better Zambia tomorrow after Hakainde Chilema. But if you are not going to put on sackcloth, according to the vision that I had this last night, you are going, Zambia is seeing the ruthless leadership even after Hakainde Chilema. May God bless you for accepting to put on sackcloth. It is my prayer that God must always sustain those who are humble to understand his will and purpose. Not Christians by name, Christians who want to pretend to be good. When they see evil happening, they rejoice together with the government that is inflicting pain and evil on others. True Christians, when they see the government doing wrong, they must raise against the government and put on sackcloth and speak words of wisdom to advise the government to have love, to have reconciliation, to have peace with everyone else. God bless you again and again.